Hey everyone, and welcome to Ink Spotlights from Comix Wellspring. This is the series where we shine the spotlight on immensely talented creators who print with us. Today, we're joined by Josiah Golojuh to talk about his books, some of his projects, and a little bit more. Josiah, thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you tell us about everything that you do?
Hi, thank you for having me. First of all, it's awesome. So I am Josiah, and I'm primarily a writer. I do other things, but I'm primarily a writer. And the cool thing is, um, Comix Wellspring has allowed me to I wrote a novel, The Paperboy, and it's set in the '90s. And basically, you kind of think of the world of the Paperboy. It's a young adult book, but the world of the Paperboy, there's they reference Spider-Man and all the superheroes that we know, but it also references characters that we don't know that these characters know. That hopefully, if you pick up this book, available from Stag Beetle Books, Amazon, all those places you can get books, hopefully that you can then get to know the characters from those. And you guys have helped me bring some of those to life. So I have a publisher for the book, but the comic, thanks to you guys, I help bring those to life myself. So far, you have helped me create Young Zombie, which is one of the comic books that is referenced within that world. That's
Sick.
one of the things that you've helped me bring to life. So Young Zombie is referenced, and the next one I'll be doing is a comic book called The Burrow, which is the superhero story. And on the cover there, that is a character called the Grim, or the Grim and the Ghoul. It's a twin superhero kind of thing. And you'll see this character here for the next one. I have to take it out of the as a comic book collector. And my daughter did a cover too.
Oh,
So
that's so
that's also
cool.
my
I
7-year-old
love
daughter Penny
that.
did that one. So the variant covers, which is what's great about
That's the coolest thing ever, dude. That's so awesome you did
yeah,
that.
and
I
she'll
love
be
that
doing
so
one for the
much.
superhero one, so that'll be launching on Kickstarter, hopefully in March. But so this
Nice.
is a preview of what the Burrow will look like. So you see here, this is the Illuminator superhero, and then you have Hero and Hero to his son. So those are some of the characters that will interface with the Ghoul here, and these are all characters. The Ghoul in particular, he'll be in the Burrow comic book, but he plays a really key role in the story of the Paperboy. And the Paperboy, it's the story of Daniel the Paperboy as he meets. Well, he doesn't really meet the corpse boy here. He comes across a boy hanging from a tree who is in fact dead, who then proceeds to haunt him throughout the rest of the story. So it's paranormal. It's kind of the category. When I wrote the story, I didn't know what category it was and kind of had to figure that out because it's not really horror, but it's a
Yeah.
little bit scary-ish. And I realized, it's
Flavors, hints, and whatnot. Yeah.
paranormal is the category that it falls into. But the cool thing is, because of all that stuff, you guys have helped me bring some of the fiction that wouldn't otherwise exist from that I created, metafiction from that world to help tell that story. Because I was, when I was writing it initially, I would write characters that would reference, maybe it still references things like Spider-Man, the X-Men. Like, for example, whenever Daniel is interacting with another character in the book, when he's by himself, if I were here just talking to myself, the corpse boy would be with me. But then you start talking, and then he disappears. And in the book, I'll describe it as he bamfed like Nightcrawler, right?
Oh,
I'll describe it that
that's
way. I'll reference X-Men like that. But then there will be other times when I want to go deeper and more specifically. So that's why I created, the Ghoul here, and I'll talk about his backstory in depth in the book and things like that. And hopefully, as I can continue to make some of those comic books and bring it to life and sort of tell the story even more deeply, like I reference it, but to really dig deeply and make these comic books that just flesh out the story in new ways. Because I'm a storyteller, and I love to tell stories. And it's basically, I've heard Tolkien a quote about Lord of the Rings, and which is an influence on this. And there's some chapters actually in here that are named for, I think it's Through the Black Gate as one that I named, which is the Black Gate in Lord of the Rings. And so because of that, he said that if someone asked, "Oh, is Middle Earth our Earth in another time?" And he said it's Earth in another state of imagination. And I like to think of the Paperboy as our Earth, or our world, 1995, give or take, in another state of imagination. And these are comic book characters, right? That this is a comic book company that you should have got in 1995. You just missed it. So now, thanks to Comix Wellspring, it exists, and you can get it. This one does exist on Amazon in digital form, but you can get it wherever you see me. I'll have one on hand at any little conventions and little shows, and hopefully scaling up, and my anytime my daughter is with me at a convention, she is happy to sign these. She loves
That's
to
so
do that.
amazing.
So.
Dude, that's so cool. You give her that opportunity and that chance too. That's so heartwarming and like such a fun way to represent a book. Do you feel like you sell more of your daughter's copies because people see that?
I do, in fact, yes,
That's
I do.
amazing.
Like, I just had to place an order, so we have a show. As I don't know when this will post for in terms of going up, but I have a show coming up this Saturday before when we're recording this, and I had to order more copies of her comic because so over Christmas time we did a little event in Pittsburgh. We did two. So I'm from Pittsburgh originally, near Pittsburgh. We did a signing at a comic shop where we sold the book and we sold the comics. And there we kind of sold like sort of even with books, comics, and everything. And just quickly, so this cover is by comic book artist Bill Mouse, who in the 90s did Zen and Intergalactic Ninja and stuff. And so he did the cover here. And so that cover sold kind of evenly with her comic even though she was there, and it kind of sold evenly with my book. So we kind of had even numbers of everything at the comic shop. But then we added an event on New Year's Eve at a local pharmacy. And maybe whenever you share this, you can attach. There's an article that actually posted on a news source called Next Pittsburgh, and they covered the event. And it was very impromptu, planned, last minute thing, and it went really well. I don't know how many books I had, but when I walked out, I had 2 books left, and one of those books was a misprint, so I couldn't sell it. And the other book I was then able to give away at my middle school, which I was going to give a talk at in not New Year's Day, but like the day after that. So like I had 2 books left, one of which I had planned to give away at the school anyway, one of which I couldn't sell. So it was like perfect because I didn't want to have to travel back to California here with those books because putting in my luggage, I literally had a postal scale and I was like, how many books can I put in my bag without going over the weight limit? Because if you put like one more in, it's like from, no extra fee to like $150 extra, that kind of thing, where they like overcharge you ridiculously from like 40 pounds to 40 pounds, 0.1 ounce. It's like, here you go. You're going to bag jail. So with that though, I was like, I don't want to bring any bags back because I knew, we were home for Christmas. We're going to have some Christmas gifts. I have 2 little girls. They're going to have some toys they're going to bring home. Right. Lots of cousins. They're going to bring stuff. So it was amazing. It was in a local pharmacy in the small town I grew up in, and tons of people showed up, and it was super last minute. But with that, Penny's comic book almost completely sold out. I had, I think, 3 left. So I had to order it to get it in time for order. And I didn't have to reorder Bill's book. I have plenty of his left, but I had to reorder Penny's because I'm pretty much out. I have, I think 3, maybe 4. Oh, there was a 4th, but my other daughter kind of drew on the cover. So that one will keep. So I officially have 3 that are to sell. 1 is, now to be kept. But her definitely does sell better in general. And she always, of course, has me, tally the numbers so she knows how many she sold, and she's which one sold more. So, and she always wants to know.
That's so cool, dude. That's so like heartwarming and sweet. Like that's one of the coolest things I've heard on the show so far.
And she likes to do it too. And I always ask her. So, and if anytime I have like a signing or like a show, whenever I I've done comic book stores and a few bookstores here in Southern California, and now some in Pittsburgh. Anytime I do it, I'm like, if you want to come, you can come. Let me know. If you don't, you don't have to. It's up to you if you want to do it. And she's always game. I said, but it's I don't want to make it a job. Hopefully it's a fun thing. But if you don't want to come, you don't have to come. But if you want to, it's fun to do it with her. It's fun to share. Like she loves doing the art. Obviously, she loves drawing. She loves creating. She loves that stuff. So it's cool that she likes the sort of the back end, the accolades, I guess, getting that part of it too.
And just like a great father-daughter bonding experience too. That's going to carry on for the rest of her life. And I think that's going to be something so cherished. So good job on that on parenting. Like total win, dude. And looking at your book, like, I love when people utilize the different sizes that CWS offers. Do you mind like opening it a little bit? I'm really curious because of it being a novel. What specs did you use?
So this is the novel, which is not printed by you guys.
Okay, cool. That's where I got.
So yeah, so from my publisher, from different, but for the comic, so we have here. This is your standard size.
Nice, love it.
And so, and I do hope to this is so far only the first issue of Young Zombie, and each of these obviously has plans to go forward. But
what's your overall plan? Like, how many issues are you looking to make this series? Like, what's your goal with it?
So for each of them, I have like at least I have like in my head at least like for this one I have a 6 issue arc. Actually, so this one initially many years ago, I pitched it to for television. So I have a 13 issue television series that I like lined out
Nice.
for the Burrow. I have it like sketched out for a 6 issue like miniseries as a comic book. For this one, I have so the Burrow in the back there. I have that sketched out for a 6 issue miniseries, and the idea that that would become then a graphic novel. For this one, I have it like as a 13 issue. I'm sorry, I have it outlined for a 13 issue television series outline.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I haven't like translated that to comic book form, so like that's a different sort of beast. Because many years ago, when I had the other companies, when they first kind of came up with this comic book concept for Young Zombie, like in a different sort of format. But I have it right now as a 4 issue plot for like the first story arc for Young Zombie.
Nice.
So that's where this one's at. The cool thing about this one, I'll say too. So Young Zombie, in my old company, I had an anthology book, which we did print a long time ago with no, I don't think it was with you guys, but it was forever ago. So don't take it personally. But the cool thing is, with printing with you guys allowed me to then print like a little bit of the actual history.
Cool.
And you can see there, like it chronicles some of the old books that were printed that I don't even know if I have those anymore. And then the actual old version of it, I Was a Teenage Zombie, which was like a 6 issue story that was in an anthology book. And then when I wrote that, this was actually written when I was at USC. I went to grad school and I have a master's in screenwriting from USC. And when I wrote this, it was originally written to be like a short script. And then I was like, oh, that would make a fun comic book. So then we made it a comic book for an event we did. So the idea with my old company was a film festival that had like a comic book component, and it was like kind of geeky themed. And so the idea was that each of our events would have a comic book, like at a theater, right? And the first event we did was in Pittsburgh. So we thought, oh, a zombie comic book because George Romero and all that stuff. And the first event we screened our films plus George Romero's Day of the Dead, which is super underrated. Like his Day of the Dead is like the end all be all of zombie movies. If you like, that feels very appropriate today, and just things going on in the world. Like Day of the Dead, like that movie just ends and like that's the end of the world. It feels like appropriate for right now, unfortunately, but also like relatable. So that was the idea that you would, you'd walk away with a comic book that was like themed to the event. And so that was part of that. At the time it was called I Was a Teenage Zombie, that at least the story was. And that was what you see here, the original art by an artist named Dan Smith. And that was part of the anthology. And there was a couple other stories in there. And so it was cool though to be able to like, with you guys, thanks to, we can have the new version, which is, a longer full origin story, plus, setting up hopefully future issues of the series. And then also add that in there as like sort of a fun, bonus sort of, little back issue content. As a kid, I loved the X-Men Classics comics.
Oh yeah.
Because first of all, I could get them cheaper because they'd be in like the 25, 50-cent bins. And they would always have like the B stories that were like extra stuff. And it would usually just be like characters kind of hanging out talking sometimes, but they were, that extra stuff in the back that would like, give you more value than
connect
just
with them a bit
story.
more and have like more fun outside of like the actual adventure or storyline.
Yeah.
I
And
love
like
stuff
character
like that.
stuff and stuff like that. It's like, so it's like kind of like in sort of in that vein. But, and I love that, you guys, thanks to like provide, like, thanks to your printing, we can do those things and add that in there and tell those stories. And hopefully we can continue to do that. We funded the printing of this through Kickstarter.
Oh, cool.
For this one, all the art had pre-existed from the previous company. And with the Burrow, most of the art is pre-existing, which is cool for us. Us being like in this case really me. I say us, I guess me and my wife and kids. Like I said, I have a publisher for the book, but I am the publisher for this, the indie side of comics. But so with it's like it's a family affair, as you can see. Like and Penny will probably be doing a cover. She's already asked me, her question was, are there any girl superheroes? And there are. They're not like prominently featured yet in the first issue, but they are there is a girl superhero that does make an appearance, and
That's
that was her
amazing.
main question. Because it's like, oh, but it's okay, you'll get to draw a girl if you want to draw. Like it's like I understand, you can draw whatever you want as long as it's a superhero theme. But whenever putting it together, it's like us teaming up as a family to make this thing. So
Dude, that's so cool. I mean, I love that interaction you have like with your family and like your approach to all of this. Like it's so much fun. And I like what you're saying, finding the genre is another like aspect to everything is like it's not scary. It's like, just hints of this. It kind of like Casper, it's not meant to be a horror story. It has elements of paranormal. And that's where you have to find those little niches. And once you find your niche, like you kind of just are able to flow with it. And I think that's where you start to find real success. So where can people get the books if they don't see you at a con? Do you have a website or anything to
So
people
yeah,
can
so
check
right
out and
now,
support you?
Young Zombie is only available digitally on Amazon. So if you look up, Josiah Golojuh, you'll find the Paperboy, you'll find Young Zombie. I have a poetry book that I wrote for my wife as an anniversary gift. Oh, and that also has a cover by my daughter Penny. So
I
if
got
you
it.
like Penny's art, that I wish I had a copy of that. I don't even have we just finished. We just edited that, so that is live for purchase. But I don't have the print copy. I only had the proof copy recently. So, but that is that honestly, like the cover she did, it's like more of her crayon art, and it's beautiful. Like I know I'm her dad, but it's just like this. If you add it to this and include it, it's just this beautiful like art. Like whether you think my poetry is good, I think I'm a better I'm better at prose than poetry. I don't think it's not traditional poetry. The book, it's prose poetry, non-traditional. It's not like rhyming verse kind of poetry,
Mhm.
but I would say that I'm better at prose and storytelling, but it's very heartfelt poetry. But her cover art is just this beautiful sort of like almost pastel looking, like the what she did. It's quite beautiful. And I also say it's kind of interesting. Before we started, we were talking about the fires in Los Angeles, and that's where I'm from Pennsylvania originally, but I came to LA to go to school and lived in LA for a while. And my wife and I met in LA, and so the book is called Once. One lazy Sunday in LA, a girl walked into a pizza shop, because that is how my wedding vows to my wife started.
So
And
sweet.
that was the title of the book, because then the poetry and all that is dedicated to her. So that's something you'd find there. And this is all available on Amazon right now. And hopefully I'll get up a shop soon that will have all these things available in the print versions. I just haven't gotten around to it. I do have an Etsy store called Comic Collage, because I used to make comic book collage art, and maybe I'll
Cool.
repurpose that for the purposes of this. But the Etsy fees have kind of been getting more killer,
So
so that's
much.
why I kind of stopped that. But I do need to get on the ball of having a place to sell my print comic books. But until then, just track me down at shows, hunt me down. But for now, though, you can find the digital versions on Amazon for Young Zombie, and look up Josiah Golojuh to find those on Amazon. You can find, like I said, the poetry book, the Paperboy, and the digital version of Young Zombie. And the cool thing about the digital version of Young Zombie, so this you'll see this cover, and even though it is only the great thing about it is only the first issue technically of the story, right? But for
Mm.
$2.99 you get it's like 80 pages of content, and plus it has this comic book that you see in here. So it has Gary the Young Zombie here, and it has this version. It has him talking about cut off my hand, like, and I'll show you my favorite moment here. It has the Evil Dead reference, which is my
Oh,
favorite
rad.
in the
Sick.
comic book. I had to send the very specific screen grabs to the artist for that.
Yes.
So it has that whole story, right? But then it also has the entire original anthology that the comic appeared in. So that's
Ooh.
all in there. It has a very comprehensive history. It has the original script, the screenplay version before it then became a comic book. So I gathered everything I could possibly find in there. It does have the artwork, clean artwork of Penny's cover. So it has like as much stuff as I could put to give you bonus content, since I don't have the print
Sick.
version available online right now. So if you do grab the digital version, there's tons and tons of extra stuff in there. So like, I love physical comics more than anything in the world, obviously. But I, like I'll show you really quickly here too. So there's other covers that there's the Rick Street cover. So Rick's another artist that did a cover for me. So Rick's cover is in there as well. So you can see that. Oh, and the one other project you guys did for me, which was great, was Mr. Goldbanks.
Oh, cool.
So another small kids project, and this was a project that I actually did where I was hired to do. I didn't create the character, but then the project kind of died, and it didn't get to go anywhere. And so I reached out to the person who hired me to do it, and I said, "Can I print this as a comic book and just as a small Kickstarter and just?" And he's like, "Sure, go ahead," because I knew it would never see the light of day. So another cover by Penny and this one, and then because of that, like it was just like maybe a few $100s to fund it and print it. I had everything already assembled. Penny did a cover, and because of that, something that was just sitting in a file that never would have gotten done got printed thanks to you guys. And this was something that I always loved. It was meant to be an educational historical comic book. So this is something that got made because of you guys that would have never ever gotten anywhere, and it was just on a small scale, but like I was so glad that it did because I worked hard on it. I did a lot of research. My undergrad degree was in history, so I love history and I love comics, so it was like a cool combo for me. And then Penny got to do another cover, so that was another thing. I forgot about this one that was here. But with the going back to the Young Zombie, that one online has as much as you can find. You can also find me at Josiah is Right on YouTube, Instagram. YouTube, I kind of do like pop culture examination stuff like that. I did a documentary on Zen Intergalactic Ninja, the character. That's how I got to know Bill Mouse, who did this cover. He was writer artist for that character in the 90s, and so I inadvertently fell into making a feature length documentary about that as I started to interview different people around that character. I ended up making something that became really long, and which was good, a good long.
Yeah.
So those are the places you can find me online, and hopefully by the time that you would put this live, I'll throw together an online store and you'll be like, oh, link below for that. So
Dude, that's awesome. I love like the energy and all the stuff you're producing and getting your family involved and like bringing back parts that you worked hard on and you wanted to resurface them to like always have them in print and cherish them. Like that just means so much, and it shows how proud you are of your work. And just involving your daughter in all these covers, like top tier. Like I just love seeing that. I love like seeing people support that. That's just congrats all along your journey here, man. This is really, really rad. I'm so hyped that you stepped in the spotlight so we could talk about all of this. And I can't wait to see your next book that comes out. So if you do a Kickstarter, at any point coming on, please come back on the show and so we could promote it and, let us know what, new cover your daughter has done so we can showcase that here. Dude, that's so, so cool.
Yeah, that one's literally, that'll be hopefully launching in March. It's funny because I've been emailing, Bill's going to do another cover for me because it's going to be, his cover is going to be his version of like the Paperboy, like his take on the Paperboy. So it's going to be for the Burrow, the comic book, but like his take on the Paperboy characters, like for a Burrow comic book. And then an artist named Howard Simpson, who Howard got to start with DC, and he did like stuff for Valiant in the 90s, like Exo, Man-O-War, and Archer and Armstrong and stuff. He did that stuff in the 90s for Valiant, and he's done like lots of like ad work and stuff throughout the years and worked for HBO. He's going to be doing some of that, and that comic is 90% done. But the other artists I lost touch with, and I have 2 dead emails, and so he's going to do finish on that comic book, and there's like I need some coloring done, so like it's another one of these projects that I got most of the way done and then didn't get finished, and now I'm going to be able to finish, and thanks to you guys I can then bring it all the way home. So that's the other thing I appreciate. It's like, okay, like these artists are going to help me collaborate, Kickstarter is going to help me bring in the little bit of funding I need to pay these artists to do it, and then you guys are going to help me like actually make it a physical thing that we can, hold in our hands and put in our collections.
Amazing, dude.
Because as you can see behind me, the collection is part of what matters too, right?
Yeah, exactly, dude. That's so hype. I'm so proud of that. Like, I'm so excited for you. This is just also super exciting for everything you do. Thanks for tuning in today, man. I really appreciate just everything you brought to the table. It's just refreshing in a big way, and a great approach that I haven't really seen in comics either. And so it looks like you're like trailblazing something new with just bringing finding a way to utilize and encourage your family in like really great monumental ways. So great job on your parenting, great job on just your artistic collaborations and the way you're thinking. So I can't wait to see your Kickstarter in March. Please tag us in everything so we can support it. And I hope to see you again in our spotlight soon.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. It was fun.